So I'm sitting here with Chris Lang in the future Oregon Mountain Outfitters storefront down here on North Main, South Main, Central Main, somewhere downtown, yeah, downtown Las Cruces. Chris, welcome to the Creator's Pursuit.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for thanks for being on the show with us. So you've come through all kinds of iterations of business to land here, right? And here is kind of a combination of things.
Right. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a loaded thing because the reality of it is our dreams don't happen overnight, and so it's a culmination of a lot of things that make up who we are and what we seek to achieve, and with that it's a long process, and it's yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but yeah, it's been a process, and definitely the derivation of many things that make up what we're doing here.
I feel almost, as we're sitting here, and there's elements of the shop that are together, there's elements of the shop that are ready to be put together.
Mm-hmm.
Just the feeling sitting here, it's almost like we're in the eye of the storm.
Mm-hmm.
You feel that?
Right.
It's just I see so many good things that are happening, within you and around you, and the people that are coming together to help make it all happen. And I see so many good things, almost being ready to explode out from here.
Mm-hmm.
Almost, in a sense, like almost with the violence. Like there's just so much. I don't know. It feels like there's behind the scenes, the stage is being put together, and the curtain drops. And
well, anyone who knows me knows I'm a very passionate person, and I surround myself with people who are just as passionate as well.
Yeah.
So we don't tend to do things lighthearted or without thought or action behind it. So it definitely is something that I see that it is. It's time. It's ready. Yeah. As funny as that sounds, but yeah. You don't really get to many moments in that life where you're like, it's ready.
Oh yeah.
But it's ready, which is kind of an interesting thing to say, because it's ready.
Very well. Well, I think you're right. I think it is from what I can see. I do see there's something that's ready to happen here, and it's really exciting to watch. You and I, met a couple of years ago, and we've had a couple of passings, and we've had an opportunity to establish a little friendship and talk about business and talk about life and sharing some experiences. And I've just been kind of watching and learning from you, and really being inspired by what you do, and trying to take that inspiration and use it as fertilizer in the things that I'm doing as well. What do you think? What do you think? All those things like coming together. What do you think is the thread that took you from when you first launched LNG to here? What do you think was that kind of thread that extends that whole thing?
I apologize for talking real quick, but the thread is failure.
Oh, yeah.
The third is failure.
As a limo drives by.
Right. Failure it is a big part of, just understanding the steps that it takes to, achieve any type of success, and I've really broken it down to kind of these three key elements. You have to be consistent, you have to communicate your ideas, and you have to be creative. I mean, that, a lot of people can do those kind of two things. They can either be consistent and communicate ideas, but if you really want to kind of achieve that next level of success, then you got to be creative. And that's the X factor. It comes in a lot of different ways. A lot of people, well, I'm not creative, and that's not true. I feel like that creativity, exists in everyone. And you find accountants that find creative ways to make money. They're creative. I mean, just because you're not in a creative field doesn't mean, you can't think outside the box in your area or your industry.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of successful do that. So when I say creative, I don't mean creative as far as like arts and perspective, but just, I mean to kind of think outside the box and to be innovative and different things. So I feel that I've made a lot of mistakes, and each of those mistakes I've taken to heart, and I've gone to bed just in sweat and just restless nights. And when you do something that affects you that much, it just shows how much you care. And I do care, and I want to have an impact on our community. I want to have an impact on others, and I really I'm not shy about that, and I want to continue to give back to our community, and there's a lot of different avenues for every one of us to do that in our own way or manner. So
bring that a little closer, see if we can go up a level. Okay. Yeah. So you say you've had a lot of failures, and I mean, I can definitely, understand that. Right. What do you have a particular failure that you would say is your favorite failure?
Yeah, probably one of my key failures, at least in the last couple of years for me, as a company and as a culture, is we were building LNG, which is a creative agency, if you don't know, that does marketing and production and just kind of creative ideas for businesses. We reached a point where we had a pretty big client that was going through transfership of ownership, and it was an account that we lost, and it really put me behind the ball, because for the first time I had to get a business loan to kind of like stay afloat and make sure everyone was paid, and it put me back a lot. I really had to scrape and really, my family and my children, we all had to really take a back seat to really getting out of the mess that I take responsibility for and created. And I really started to look at different ways that we could diversify what we were doing. As an agency, we were putting all of our heart and soul into our clients, and that's a great thing, right? And we still continue to work in those manners, but it made me think, we just can't have one single income. We can't rely on LNG. So we started diversifying. We started looking at weddings. We started looking at doing stock video. Stock video is what like CNN or Fox News would buy from us, shots of the border or whatever it was for them to use in their newscast. So we really started diversifying, and we were like, we're going to spend all this energy on the client, let's just build our own client.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Oregon Mountain Outfitters kind of came from.
Huh. Nice.
It was
good segue.
right, so it's really interesting. So to build the perfect client, we love Las Cruces. I love being outdoors. I want to create amazing content that I can share with others as well. And so, as we decided, that we were going to build our own client from the ground up. That's how kind of Oregon Mountain Outfitters was born. And so LNG has been able to take an idea of what a client should be, and in less than a year, we're in a storefront.
Yeah.
So
no, that's really amazing. I mean, because when I look at, I try to learn from you guys a lot, because I've seen, how many people try to start something, let's say a clothing company, right?
Right.
And they just don't take it far enough. You know what I mean? And I see you guys, and all right, LNG with the background in social media marketing and the video creation, and I see you guys, doing all that stuff with excellence, right? And so I'm watching your Instagram feeds, and watching on Facebook, and we have discussions about some of the strategies that you're using, and I see the videos that you guys have made, featuring Derek Roberts, who we just shot episode 1 with. That was such a cool video. And it was what was so cool is it was featuring Obscura and Derek and all the stuff that he's got going on, but yet it was a gift from Oregon Mountains.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is, that's what those things are to begin with, right?
Right.
So yeah, I really like, and I think, it's obvious, the community has really resonated with what you guys are doing with the, giving back to the schools with, so every time somebody buys an Oregon Mountain shirt, is it 10% of the proceeds?
Yeah, we the shirt is $20, and we take $2 of that, and we get that to Las Cruces Public Schools, and that helps feed a child for 1 week.
Yeah.
Because on a reduced lunch program, it's 40 cents a day.
Yeah.
And so we're able to take that and give that to the public schools, and I've kind of lost count how many lunches. It's thousands at this point.
Oh, man, that's so cool.
But it's been fun to kind of be a part of that and to work with school on other initiatives too.
Yeah,
which has been really fun too.
Huh.
Yeah, I definitely consider them a partner in what we do.
The LCPS.
Yeah.
And without making it a political thing, you guys, what you're doing there is saying, you know what, you guys, the rest of the world, you guys can bicker about politics and which side and all that, but all that's going to do is divide people.
Right.
Here's the thing: we've got this product, we've got this brand, and here's the deal: when you come in and you support us, we give back to the community. We solve this little piece of this puzzle. That we're gonna just add to that, so that this doesn't have to become part of this microcosm of outrage.
Right, and you made a good point. We all have strong political beliefs, every one of us, and so I think a lot of people they stop at the argument instead of just do your part.
Right.
Just stop. What are you most passionate about? And for me that's children. That's children that don't have a father. That's what I relate to. And those single income families. I understand. That's what I know. That's what I understand, and that's what I try to, give my time and effort to. Now, you being raised in a different environment, you're going to feel more passionate about something else. But go do that. Go do it.
Yeah.
But people get hung up on doing. Just do it. And so I think we want to be an example of action and just be an example of just kind of giving as well.
I like the example that you set. I really do. I look at it and I really think that we all do truly want the same things.
Right.
We just have different ideas about how to accomplish it. Right.
Right.
And yeah, I think once you stop stop arguing about which idea is better, and just start putting some some effort and some activity into doing the thing that you think is the best.
Right.
I mean, you can't argue with results, right?
Right. And the thing about it, we'll go back to that first point you made, because I definitely want to expound upon that. You were saying that a lot of people have good ideas, and they stop at some point, and so just kind of going back to like stopping at arguments or anything like that. The whole key with success is being consistent. People just are not consistent, and so you have to be consistent. You just can't get, even with this podcast, you can't get 4 or 5 episodes in and then stop. You have to commit, and you got to commit to that. And I always use Larry the Cable Guy as an example, right? Most people look at him as like this dumb hick, but that guy was consistent in his act for 15 years. Now the guy he's licensed as mater cars for his life.
Right. Enough said.
And so it's that consistency.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're fragmented individuals, and I have thousands of ideas, and my team's always trying to do that. Yeah, Chris. And so I understand that aspect of having a lot of ideas and want to execute all different things, but at the same time, like, as long as we're consistent. And that's how I'm able to gauge personally, like, where we're at with LNG or Organ Mountain. I know where we're at with these things because of the consistency that we put into it, and if we're communicating that idea, and so for us, Organ Mountain, we're really consistent. The farmers market actually gives us a really great mechanism to do so, because it's Saturday with or without us,
Yeah.
And so that gives us a great way to be consistent. We communicate on social media all the time, our love for Las Cruces, our love for our community and what we're doing, and the creativity is just kind of hopefully the content that we share, is hopefully makes you want to be a part of it as well.
So, I mean, you guys are probably one of the best, at least local businesses, and I'm sure you register, on a wider schedule as well. Just looking at what you do with social media, I mean, you guys have really figured out how to do it. And I'm sure you're always iterating and improving and things like that.
Right.
I mean, when you're doing those social media, I'm curious how much of the social media consumption is like local, it's with people that are like in your circles and extended circles, versus how much of that goes on to like a national or more regional?
Well, on the LNG side, we manage social media clients across the nation, actually.
Oh, okay.
I actually have a lot of experience, whether it's automotive, medical, legal, just a lot of different industries. And so, and then with Organ Mountain, it's definitely hyper local. We have orders all over the place: Iowa, Montana, Indiana, Virginia, California, and so what's great is that Facebook gives us a lot of tools for success, and it gives us a lot of tools to dial down, zip codes, industries, interests, likes, and so it's just knowing those tools and utilizing them. But I learned this a few years ago, but especially in social media, you don't have an X amount of time before someone just scrolls with their phone. And so a lot of times, you can apply this in most industries. I wouldn't say every industry, but when you're looking to sell something or promote something, right, you got to let them know right away. And I ask myself this question. So as I'm building out the ad or taking a look at it, does it give me a reason to buy and a reason to buy now? So I ask myself those two basic questions, and that really helps me understand, am I hitting the target, with this ad? And the majority of the time, our ads perform really well, for our clients and for Organ Mountain at a very low cost per click.
Yeah.
And we monitor it every day. Again, it's about that consistency. It's about that communication. I always go back to that because, to me, that's the basis of how you just can't. It's like working out. You just can't do it whenever you want and expect to get the results, right? And I'm guilty of that on a personal level. Like, the bad downside of Las Cruces is amazing food we have.
Oh man.
So
let's not put that in any kind of a negative frame because I don't even want to live in that reality.
So it's one of those things that just staying on top of it. But I think when you build out something visual, you need to look at it in that kind of frame. That's what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So I'm curious if you want to give some insight on it when you're, let's say you have an ad campaign. You say you're monitoring it, all the time. Are you making modifications? Are you doing like A/B testing across two different ones? When you make modifications, are you changing the demographics that are being targeted, or are you actually swapping out the content?
A lot of times it's usually swapping out the creative,
really,
as far as the visual. The A/B testing, you definitely do, because you have the opportunity to do so, And so I think you can definitely change up the interesting behavior. But I've always noticed it's that creative that, and I'm always surprised, like, oh, that creative does really well. And I wouldn't expect that, to do as well. But you just never know, it's quite interesting until you test it, So another thing too that I think we kind of really try to do is, as a creative, you have your own ideals and goals as far as what people will like or respond to. I think for us, we always step outside of ourselves and really try to look at what our audience wants and not what we want to push down their throat. And so I think a lot of times people will just hammer something over and over and wonder why it's not working. It's because they believe in it and they're just too arrogant to just step back and be like, no, it's not working, just pivot. And I would say we pivot a lot. I mean, I would say that's one of the things that we do. Yeah, we're consistent, but we pivot consistently as well. And I don't think that's a negative, especially when the results,
right? I mean, that's just like failure itself.
Exactly, right, yeah, exactly. It's little failures, right?
Yeah,
just like your Richter scale, so you just kind of pivot and keep going. So,
I wonder if there's some wisdom there that if you can react to the small failures before they culminate into the big failures, make some corrections along the way.
Right. I notice a lot of times we tend to, and I say this from experience, we tend to not step back and continue to repeat the same mistakes, and they just, like you said, they end up in a bad bubble.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that. There's definitely a few things like, Chris, you're smarter than that. Why did you get to that point, or why did you make excuses? Why didn't you take responsibility sooner? And so a lot of times we find it easier to blame others than ourselves.
Yeah, man.
And so for me, I think a lot of it is just having to take more ownership and responsibility that I'm at a place in life because that's where that's where I brought myself. So whether if I'm successful or if I'm losing in that situation or that environment in that business, for me it's because I brought myself there. And I'm definitely, like you were saying before, like in the heart of the storm, I'm definitely in a place right now where I'm not trying to set limits on what we're trying to do anymore. And I mean, let's just dream, and let's be wild about it. And there's no really downside of doing that.
Yeah.
And I think for me too, it's just you got to get past what people think of you and people's expectations of us. And I think we do a really good job of just trying to just try to move forward, regardless, because you do have to have that belief system that you believe in it and you're going to see it through. So.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I talking about like the failures and the feedbacks and not paying attention and just putting the fault on other people. I mean, I went through just recently. I've been in this project, and I was involved with this company for 4 years, going on 5 years, and like, I had such a vision for the company, and, we were going to change the company for the better, and like people that I was working with within the company, they were all for it. And, we were all working together. We were coming to, to create this product that their business was going to, flourish on. And I couldn't figure out why the owner always seemed to be so like shielded against the whole thing, right? And all these different excuses came up of why that person might have not like just understood what we were doing, or just they were tired and they were wanting to get out of it or whatever. Right? I just came all these little stories, and that project ended, and we kind of split ways. And with that distance, I was able to kind of look at it more clearly and introspectively, and realize that, all those things that I was trying to do, that was not the vision for the business from the top.
Right.
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 And it's like all of us together, working with all the managers that were involved and everybody that was like really working hard to put this thing together. And, all of us were ignorant to that fact that this was not the vision for the company, and we were working against the current, and that was a really hard one, to see in the moment,
Right. So, in those situations where, you're fighting this uphill battle, and especially when it's the top down kind of leadership, sometimes you have to step away.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's really hard.
Yeah. Especially when all you want to do is like persevere.
Persevere and genuinely want to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just want to make the product or the business better.
Yeah.
You genuinely want to help and you care, but at the same time, it's just one of those things that, what's that old saying about love growing up? If it was truly meant to be, it'll come back.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, like, if it's truly meant to be, then it'll happen. But I definitely learned that sometimes you just step away, and when it's not working, it's just not meant to be at the moment. And I have another business that I'm kind of doing that with right now. Just maybe it's just not meant to be at this moment. I'm just kind of anxious about it. I'm kind of becoming more at peace about it. Well, just put the brakes on it, and we'll revisit that idea in a few more months.
Yeah. I mean, you never know when if it's something that's just has to come out.
Right.
Sometimes when you tell it can't come out, that's when it will come out.
Right. And there's other times like Morgan Mountain, like it's just kind of been a very, it's been one of those that this has really flourished,
Yeah.
But I think there's a huge need for that from the community and from us as well internally to create something that that can build a culture.
So what's it like for you? What is it like for you running LNG, running Morgan Mountain? What does your day look like?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I have a family, I have a wife, 2 children that I love a lot. And when we first started Morgan Mountain, it was basically working LNG during the day, printing shirts at night, working the market, and so it was really interesting trying to understand what that looked like, because I couldn't let my clients see that we were slipping, and we haven't, what I mean? We've been able to maintain our client relations. You just heard the conference call, how they're appreciative of us right before you came in.
Such a good compliment that I ever heard on your conference call.
Right, so it's one of those things that maintaining what's in front of our nose is really important to me, so we've definitely made some sacrifices, as a family, the first kind of, 6 to 8 months, as far as me trying to find that balance. But, what was great is I started working out on my garage. So I was home.
Mm-hmm.
So, children would be out with me, or as I'm creating content, I actually take them on a lot of the, shots that we put on Instagram. my kids are usually with me.
Yeah.
So I get to spend a lot of quality time with them, which is really awesome. You know,
On a picnic or something like
right,
that.
right. We went camping in the Geary Springs the
That's
other night,
beautiful.
you know, and I was able to do some, you know, photography of the stars.
Yeah.
They're with me, you know what I mean? So I think that's really valuable that I'm able to spend a lot of time with them. But yeah, you're going back to just kind of answering the question. A normal day is really quite interesting. You know, we've been able to really promote from within at LNG, and Nathan, our director of operations, he's been amazing. He's been able to really step up and handle a lot of our client relations and even help with creative where I even had to be so much involved in. But you know, he started off as an intern at MSU.
Yeah.
You know, and he's been with me now, I think, 4 years. And so he you know, he really understands the vision of what we're trying to do here and what we're trying to build from LNG. And so to me, he's been a key asset, you know, for us to maintain that relationship. But you know, we've actually gotten working mountain down to where you know, it was a little bit of work understanding what it looked like. But you know, it's a retail business, you know, and we sell shirts and then we buy more and we print them and then we sell more. So it's a pretty, you know, it's a pretty kind of a systematic approach. And but you know, the thing about it is it's fun and it's what I love to do. Like I love photography, I love video, I love creative, and so it's for us it's been one of those things where you know I'm able to get up at sunrise this morning. We were up at sunrise. Well, I'm sure we'll be out in the mountains at sunset. You know, so it's just I don't know. It goes back to like building that perfect client, and just for us, it's kind of been that, you know, because the client allows us to create and spend time outside, and I'm able to do it with my family, you know. So
Yeah.
it's not like other shoots, you know, where I can't take my children,
Yeah.
you know, like to Spaceport America or something like that. So, you know, it's really interesting. It's been really fun. You know, so I'm really proud to say that we've taken care of our clients at LNG, and we've been able to maintain those relationships, and we're able to actually, I mean, as you heard, we're able to see their businesses grow through what we're doing, and then with Oregon Mountain, we're able to create something that we're really proud to create, and also be able to grow that for the community as well. Because when we open the store, you know, which is a big task. I mean, we have to fill the space with a lot of inventory. That's you know that's going to take a lot of money. You got to buy the inventory first, you know, and you got to think about designs and how we're going to promote everything, and that's going to take a lot of time and effort. But also at the same time, like we want the store to be an extension of the community. So we plan to have music shows here. We plan to promote local artists and tell stories, just kind of what we did with Art Obscura. We want to continue to tell the stories of the artists here.
Yeah.
And I'm really big on giving people who don't have a voice and a platform to have a voice. That's why we're really passionate about children, why we're really passionate about the land, because that is they need a voice and they don't have a voice. So, and I feel like a lot of times, even for myself growing up, I didn't really understand all my creative tendencies. I didn't know how to get it out. And so we want to be able to invite artists here, be able to tell a story, and have them share with the world what they're proud of, so they can have that feedback and that appreciation of what they're doing as well, instead of not having an outlet to do so.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have to imagine that this whole experience has had a really big impact on your kids as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. It's one thing to teach your kids something, that's kind of in the air as far as concepts, faith, or just morals, right? We teach our kids things, but to be able to practice it and to be able to, for them to see the response that when people come to the booth at the market and tell us, show us their Instagram feed, like, you've inspired us to go outdoors. That's a big impact. Or you know, or, you know, they see a shirt and they understand that a child is fed for a week, you know, they're seeing that in a more applicable way than me just telling them like, do good, be a good person.
Yeah.
You know, they're just, I'm not having a conversation. I'm just living it out, and they're able to see that. And I know it's impacted them. You know, we definitely had conversations about it. You know, I grew up in extreme poverty, and so you know they're not. And we talk about that a little bit, and I think they understand to some extent. You know, it's hard.
Yeah.
You know, it is hard to understand because they do have a roof over their heads. They got their needs taken care of, but yeah, I think they do get it, and I'm really proud that they're able to understand that they're a part of that as well. You know, yeah, because I definitely know that they feel a part of it. You know, I know that they feel proud as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know that they love our community, so
yeah,
can't wait to see them grow up and love it as well.
Yeah, the community, the outdoors, the entrepreneurial spirit, the giving back. You know, I mean, it's all, you know, that's all part of a pretty good formula for a pretty good child there. Right? You know?
Yeah, I hope so.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So you know, I'm curious. You mentioned like the artists that you're going to have in here. Is there any of those? Any of that starting to bubble up as far as like artist involvement? Yeah.
Well, you know, at LNG we had a music studio that we kind of opened to the public for kind of open practices and for people just to kind of hang out and just be able to work on their craft. And so, you know, that element, you know, has been a big part of you know who we are, and that carried over to Art Obscura where the shows were. You know, they practiced LNG and they played Art Obscura.
Yeah.
You know? So to be able to develop a relationship with Derek,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, he's been just an amazing friend, and I count him as one of the most influential people in my life right now. You know, and so he's just such a loving person as well, giving back to his community in his own way, and so. I think for us, I mean, we just wanted just to be another outlet to kind of complement the foundation that he's kind of laid, you know, because he's, you know, been so instrumental and so influential and giving people a voice. That's really inspired me to continue to do so, you know. So I just want to kind of honor what he's doing as well with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that we talked about on Derek's episode was how he got his start with the Spirit Winds owner.
Oh yeah,
who I just met today.
Richard,
thank you.
Yeah.
Richard Potter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Richard. Yeah. So and how, you know, and to me this is like mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, you know, he was working for Richard at Spirit Winds. And he was getting ready to graduate, and he told Richard, you know, I can't work for you anymore because I want to go off and do my own thing. And rather than, you know, take it as like insult and, you know, try and squash out the competition, like he said, all right, let's talk. Let's put our heads together and let's see let's create what we need to create. And like what's come out of that with Art Obscura and the Hood, the mechanic shop that they have going on out there, and just all of the amazing stuff that's happening with the restaurant they're getting ready to put out, and all of that is because of that decision of Richard not being the person that says you can't you're not going to do this because this is my town. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I think you guys, I see being in that in that swirl where it's not about being the only game in town, right? It's about creating this culture and really facilitating this culture of of what makes our community special.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Um,
No, it really is. It's important that we, collaborate and listen and we understand, what others want to share as well, because it's all valid information that can be used in a manner for good. Because everyone has that good intentions of their interpretation of, like we were talking about earlier, just of what it means for them. So I think just even with Oregon Mountain, I mean, we've been able to work with local artists, kind of come up with concepts and designs that we've been working on. So we're proud that, everyone's from New Mexico and everything else, we want to definitely keep it that way, but as much as we can. But, yeah, it's been interesting, and I think it is important to, like you said, to give people a platform, just like with Richard did with Garrett, definitely inspired by that, definitely want to continue to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, when you were planning out, setting up the Oregon Mountain Outfitters, and maybe even LNG, although you mentioned LNG, you have national clients. You specifically said Oregon Mountain is definitely hyper local. I'm curious, like, did you ever worry that Las Cruces, the hyper local community, wasn't big enough to sustain what you wanted to do?
Definitely, you have those concerns, and it's one of those things like, how will this play out, and you know what I mean? It was one T-shirt design to begin with, you know what I mean? So like, how many people can own that shirt, right? So yeah, and so it definitely was something that I've been pleasantly surprised by the amount of feedback and the repeat customers that we've had. So it's one of those things that I think we had a plan in place. We had different phases that we wanted to do things in, and so we really planned it out in that manner. So everything has been, it's launched with a single idea for sure, but okay, once that single idea kind of reached fruition, now it's time to do, the other ideas that we've had for the brand as well. And so we definitely, had kind of planned out different phases that we wanted to see happen, and they're happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that to have an idea, but to execute the idea, that's kind of been the most rewarding aspect of what we've been doing so far. And then, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm humbled. Like I'm just blown away. Like I don't I don't feel deserving of what's happened, but at the same time, it's came with a lot of failure on my part in the past.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make mistakes. I know that I'll make mistakes, and just understanding that gives me the comfort to keep moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really imagine what you must experience, because every time I go out into public, there's Oregon Mountain Outfitters. Everybody has the shirts. Like, I can't imagine what you must. I mean, humbling, yes. I'm proud for you.
Right.
Like, every time I go out and I see that, I'm like, I'm proud. I'm proud because I know you. You know what I mean?
Right. It's interesting because I'll give you a quick backstory. So when I lived in extreme poverty, and when I mean that, I don't lightly. Like, I grew up on Indian land in northeast Oklahoma on a Cherokee reservation, and I've lived in cars, tents, trailers, and we didn't have running water, didn't have electricity. There was portions of my life where when like Guns N' Roses was huge, I didn't know who they were. I got made fun of it because I'm like, I don't have a TV. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. And so it was quite interesting because I remember, everyone got school clothes at the beginning of the year, right? Everyone goes school clothes shopping, right? I remember going to the dollar store and we bought a yellow Ocean Pacific T-shirt and some blue jogging sweatpants, and that's what I had to wear for the entire year, and so I remember I was an artist like as a kid, and I would draw, and I remember drawing. I wanted to draw the next Nike logo or the Adidas logo, and I would sit there and I would doodle, and I was really inspired, and I would even draw different clothes, and it was just something for me, like I just sitting there, in fourth and fifth grade, and just being in this environment of poverty, and where everyone else is, they're repeating the same mistakes of alcoholism, drugs, and abuse, and everything else, and it was a quite interesting environment to grow up in, but for me, like it's I was just telling my wife this the other day, like it's really humbling to think, that we created a logo that has meant a sense of hope for the community, and it's born out of that place that I understand what a lot of our children are going through here. Because Doña County, 25% was in poverty, and so it's not foreign what they're going through, and I think that's why it means a lot to me, because I just wanted to create something that would bring us together and give back at the same time.
Yeah. So it's no accident that Oregon Mountain is a clothing line. Huh?
It's funny. I didn't really think of that, but yeah, it's when I really started that, I didn't really think about that, but now it's become more of a revelation to me of why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah. That's got to be just when you're putting things together, and you're met with all this adversity, and you hit failures, and you hit a little stride of success, and then you get somebody that says, "No, that's just a terrible idea." Why and maybe you haven't had so many of those people around you, as you climbed this mountain, proverbial mountain, right? Literal mountain, as it were. But like that's got to be such a empowering thing to be able to go back to, like when you're at the bottom of your well. At the bottom of your well is the memory of that orange or the yellow orange Pacific shirt and the blue jogging pants, and the little kid that's just dreaming about changing the world, the way the world looks, and it's powerful.
Yeah, it's powerful, and it's surreal, and just the other night I took my son to the movies, and we sit down and watch the movie, and then people get up and pass us, and they're wearing Oregon stuff. It's just like, wow, it's really quite interesting to see it in action, but it's. I didn't understand what it took to get out of poverty, and my parents, they never made it out of poverty before they passed away, and so for me, it's one of those things that I just, looking back and reading books, and there's tons of resources out there, but I just learned that, hey, as long as I'm consistent, I'll be okay. I think a lot
consistency was the storyline back then too, huh?
Right, and I didn't understand that. I went to 6 different colleges.
Oh yeah?
Yes, and so I didn't understand consistency for a big part of my life. But when I moved to Las Cruces in 2006, because my wife was born and raised here, and we met in college, and so when I moved here in 2006, I worked for a local furniture store, and I started off at the warehouse delivering furniture for $5.15 an hour, $5.15 an hour, and it was there in the city of Cruces that I learned that consistency. It was the key to any kind of success, whether it's small or big. And so I just found that as long as you're consistent, you can at least get out of your situation.
Yeah.
And those kind of next steps to building upon where you are today is really that communication and then again that creativity. So
Was there any particular, anything in particular that you can recall on that, working in that furniture warehouse taught you about the lesson of consistency?
well, I just found it interesting. Like, I moved here. My wife was pregnant with our first child, and there wasn't really like a lot of industry jobs here. It wasn't a. I mean, you have the university, and you got NASA, and you got education and border. So it's very
Lots of more public sector
public.
stuff.
Yeah, and so it wasn't like this, private, and type of business, that you kind of have in Oklahoma. There's
Okay.
a lot of private because of natural gas, oil, agriculture. There's a lot of like just more, and so I wasn't used to that here, and so I just was working every day. I show up to work every day and put in my time. I didn't think I was doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
And I just kept getting promoted. I rose up, 5 management positions. I became operations manager. I was running a couple stores, and it was just kind of where I learned that, hey, and then I learned communication skills because you got to lead people. You got a staff of 30, 40, 50, and you got to communicate to a lot of different people. What you're trying to achieve and how you're trying to achieve it. And so that's kind of, I really credit that opportunity that I had to really lay the groundwork for everything I do today. So, but it's one of those things that I go back to. People don't want to. They don't want to start at the bottom. They want to make it, right. They don't. I mean, I was delivering furniture in July, August, September for $5.15 an hour in Las Cruces. Like, you just do it, and you start off and then you just work your way up.
I think $5.15 in 2006. That's minimum wage, right?
Right. And that's minimum wage, and so that's funny to think of what I charge clients now per hour. But yeah, compared to $5.15 an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things that it's just you can't despise small beginnings.
Yeah.
And you just can't show up with an idea and expect everyone to believe in it. It's when you look at 2006 and we're 2017. Even back then the people that I was with, I mean, some of them are still friends today, and it's just one of those things that I love my community back then, and I still love my community today. So it's just a continuation of who I was.
Did you have any idea when you're working in the warehouse and rising up through management, and did you have any idea that where you were going to be here doing?
No, not at all. Actually, I turned 30, and I was operations manager, and I had a salary of health benefits, and I just had my second child, Levi, and I was looking him in the eyes one night, and I was thinking, how am I going to tell my child to pursue his dreams if I'm not pursuing mine? To be quite honest, I've been to 6 different colleges. I just turned 30. I didn't know who I was, what I wanted to do. I didn't know my strengths, my weaknesses. Fully develop it, And so it was quite interesting. I actually quit my job a few weeks later. Yeah, I quit my job, and I got kind of floundered a little bit for a little while. And as far as trying to figure out what I was trying to do, I just knew it would have to be a sudden change. As scary as that was for my wife and children, I just knew that it had to be a sudden change, and if it was going to happen, and so I ended up becoming a salesman for this international software company here in town. And so I became an international account manager, and I was traveling to Mexico City, London, and I had clients like ESPN, Disney, DreamWorks. And
is this Walter's company?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was traveling around and I was going to these trade shows, and I started to see how social media was changing the world.
Oh.
And this was in 2011, and how everyone was communicating, and I was closing these like these deals, over emails and over social media. And I was just like, oh wow, like this is really interesting, And so I actually was in London for a week, and I wrote out the entire business plan for LNG that week when I was in London. And so it's quite interesting because we were going to offer social media, graphic design, photography, video, and websites. And I had experience,
and anything else that you need.
right?
Yeah.
And I seriously had zero experience in any of that.
Really?
I just knew that's what I wanted to do.
Wow.
With my life.
Wow.
At that point.
So what'd you do then?
I came back home. I told the company in about a month or so that what I was going to do, I was going to start my own company. And November 11th, 2011, I filed my paperwork for LNG. And we had our first sale in December. And it's just kind of growing bit by bit after that. But, it was one of those things that it's not like it wasn't met with adversity. There was a lot of struggle. There was a lot of learning. Again, I didn't have knowledge in video production. I didn't have knowledge in photography. I had a minimal website knowledge. Social media was kind of the most innate thing for me. But design, I was floundering for such a long time. Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I drew as a kid a lot, but in today's digital age, I didn't know Photoshop. I didn't know, so it was one of those things where I just dove in. This is the only thing I was dedicated to, and I was going to learn everything I could.
So just like self-taught?
Yeah, exactly. And, just the people that I hired around me, just, I soak up information all the time. And so, I just continue to read and educate and watch videos. Yeah, I'm never happy with where I'm at, so I still have a long ways to go, but that is quite interesting to think that 5.5 years ago, I didn't have any experience for.
I would have never guessed, man. I would have never guessed.
And then what we're doing today. So.
Yeah. No, that's really awesome story.
It was one of those things that it was kind of like bake it until you make it. It's not always the best advice, especially for a project you can't handle. Yeah. But we've been able to deliver on our projects, and I think that's a testament to the team that we have here, those two as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I may have gone to 6 different colleges, but we do have people with them degrees that work here, more people who have experience. So we surround ourselves with good talent, and it's been able to pay off.
So what's your team like? How many people are working with you?
Yeah, we, Nate has his film degree from CMI in Charlotte. She has a film degree from a college in upstate New York. And so they and then Aaron, he has about 14, 15 years of video experience as well. And so our video team consists of some really talented, people. And then, we're building now, I work with some local, students who are going to school and kind of just take them out on shoots and try to just kind of get back and let them create content that they want to see as well. So it's just kind of a small little team, but we continue to do that.
You guys in your new location here are right down the street from the high school. Is it Americas?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what their programs are like, but I mean, I wonder as you grow and as the youth are such an important factor. Do you see programs that reach out to youth and teach them about film, about business, about is that part of the plan?
Yeah, well, we've been doing internships for over 4 years.
Okay.
So whether it's high school or college, so kids are always welcome to apply and be a part of it. They always get what they want out of it. So sometimes, that means nothing. you know,
Yeah.
and that's just reality. And then if some like Nate will become director of operations.
Yeah.
So it's like you really get out of it what you want.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. So you mentioned to me earlier that y'all are getting ready to relaunch a podcast. Is it under LNG?
Yeah, it was. It's more from my point of view. Just it's one of those things. It's called In Progress, and we got the Twitter, Facebook. I don't know, maybe 2 months now, maybe 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
And so it's kind of a newer idea. We've done podcasts in the past, if anyone's followed us, but we're kind of relaunching as far as just we want to interview people who are in progress in their dreams, who haven't made it yet. So just like you said, the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
We want to capture people who are in pursuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like you're doing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I really do. I think there's a really big need for that on a couple of different levels. So for one, I think people like me need that.
Yeah.
To learn from and to get inspiration from, and when the gas tank is feeling empty, to be able to build up a community of people that are just going through that same grind.
Right.
And just like in like matters of faith, you should have people that are ahead of you, and you should have people that are behind you, and you should have people that are by your side.
Right.
And just being able to kind of throw up a beacon and see if people come to that and come together and conjugate and develop those kinds of hierarchical type of relationship.
Right, just like you alluded to earlier, and just what I alluded to just a little bit ago. I mean, it's about learning from others. And that could really help. Especially, there's time. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's times when you're in tears. Just like you just don't know, like you're gonna move forward, but you don't know how. And I've had plenty of those moments, but having a community that is there for you, who wants to see you succeed, and who will be by your side and who will help you and give you, advice, whether it's good or bad. I mean, it's nice knowing that we have an amazing community here that wants to see us succeed and is willing to help us get there.
Yeah. It's really powerful. I'm really proud of the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I appreciate being your second guest.
Hey man. Yeah, I can't even tell you, like, when so the plan here is to put together first 3 episodes and not launch them individually, but kind of put them out. And I'm still trying to figure all this out, if I'm going to launch them all the same day or kind of do one after another. Yeah, right.
It works for them.
Yeah, right. It really does. That's a great point. And I want to do it in conjunction with a launch party. Right. But when I was dreaming about all this stuff, I mean, you and Derek were like, I gotta have those guys. I mean, if I can have those guys, then I know at that point, then I've got something that's really got promise to it. So man, when you responded and said, yeah, I'd be happy to do it. Let's make it happen. That was like,
That's awesome.
My day was made at that point. So thank you, man.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm always wanting to help other people out, so it's cool.
It's evident.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah. What would you say to, okay, so here's Chris Lang, 7 years ago? Working at a job, trying to figure out what's the next phase of life, right? Going back even further to where you're having that moment with your son, thinking, you got to live out your dreams. Now, to people today that don't feel like they're living their potential, what do you say to people that feel like they're missing out on something?
For me, it was trying a lot of different things, and just kind of seeing what stuck, what not stuck, what stuck, and what made sense, and what did I find happiness in, and so, uh, it was the ability to try something and to fail, I didn't, I don't have a lot to lose. I definitely have more now than ever because I definitely have a beautiful wife, I have beautiful children, and there's a lot more on the line now, to perform and to understand. But, especially if you're not happy, then what do you have to lose? You know, you just do it, and, there's going to be a couple things that happen, Um, you know, you might fail, but if you believe in it, I mean, you always hear the stories of like Colonel Sanders or Abraham Lincoln or all the actors who get told no 1,000 times, but just keep at it, and I think it was, the same for me. It wasn't like I just, okay. It was one of those things that there was a lot of personal failures on my part as far as trying to figure out what I was trying to do. So, college, I went to 6 different colleges, and I mean, like 1 year was theology, 1 year was college of baseball, another year was acting, another year was poetry, and becoming published. So it wasn't like I was trying all the different things,
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that a lot of that actually still in my everyday life, It's just in different forms now and more refined, So it wasn't that I didn't have those interests, it's just I didn't know how to put them all together.
Right. Yeah.
So now, I mean, my poetry comes out in form of commercials that I write and we get to produce and create and share with others. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think you said, you said earlier how, you are where you are today because of all of the things that have.
You are,
right?
You really are. And so it's one of those things that if you're not happy, you only have yourself to blame. Quit blaming others and just go for it. I know that it's so cliche, but I mean, I tell you, any successful person or any entrepreneur will tell you the same thing. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
There's just no way around it.
Yeah, and I don't think, I mean, not to say don't be bold about it, but I don't think you actually have to be, kind of in the walk the plank, jump ship and just start swimming,
right?
Kind of deal, I think because just talking to different people in different stages of life, there's going to be people that are pretty dependent on certain lifestyles that has become part of their everyday,
Right.
And I think even there, like if you can just spend some time really focusing on what's important to you, and even if it's at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, if you just spend some time.
Side hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah, even with LNG, it was one of those things that I still had a job.
Yeah.
And I told them, I communicated, and I wasn't, did anything that wasn't communicated, but I told them, I think I want to start my own company, so I'm in the trend, just, I want to go in a different direction. And so it was a side hustle, and not that one sale in December allowed me to quit my job in January, which might have not been the most wise thing, but I kind of, jumped in on 2 feet, and even with Organ Mountain, it was one of those things that LNG still continues. With Organ Mountain, it was LNG during the week, it was Organ Mountain at night on the weekends, so it wasn't one of those things. And obviously it's about to overtake a lot more of my time than I probably realized, but at the same time, it's you're right, just you work on it, and when it's ready to go in that direction, The thing about it with Organ Mountain LNG is that they actually need each other.
Yeah.
Which really helps a lot. And so
That, and then the fact that you actually have, a team of really capable people that you don't have to be the one turning all the knobs.
Right.
You can get off the controls and go take a higher level look and see what's going on,
Right.
where things need to connect. You've got people that you can trust,
Right.
and that's such a huge thing.
It is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't have a great team that I trusted. And so it's one of those things that we've just been able to. They're proud as well. They have a hand in what we're doing. And so. And so they see those successes as well personally, which is kind of really gratifying for them. So
Yeah. Well, it's a really amazing story, and I feel like the story is very analogous to this shop.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see all the pieces around,
Mm-hmm.
and you can tell that it's a shop,
Mm-hmm.
but it's in the beginning phase.
It is. And going back to the beginning of our talk, it's one of those things. It's just right.
Yeah.
And now we just have to do it.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we're pretty excited.
So people can connect with you.
Yeah.
What's the best way?
Yeah, I mean, personally, all my social media handles are at Chris Lang Create.
Okay.
And that's how I go by on social media. And obviously, I mean, at Organ Mountain,
Mm-hmm.
social media handles, they'll be able to hold me that way as well. So.
What's your favorite social media channel to push stuff out to?
Yeah, I love Instagram. I've been slacking on Facebook a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Instagram's just they've done a really great job with it. I know they've stole a lot from Snapchat.
Yeah.
Recently, but they're a social media network that I'm most excited about. And as a visual person, I mean, it's a great place for other like-minded creatives to go. I feel like it's more in my community.
Yeah.
I think Facebook's more family and friends, but I feel like I'm able to connect with other creatives more on Instagram and see what they're up to.
Yeah.
And be able to share our work as well.
I think you are actually the one I would credit to getting me interested in Instagram, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And so I had an Instagram account. I don't even know when I started it, but I knew I had it. And
Right.
so after you and I had talked a little while back, and I reinstalled the app, and it remembered me, and so I got in there, and I started looking at it differently, right? And so instead of just treating it like Facebook and just following all my friends and seeing a bunch of stuff that isn't necessarily, I mean, not to belittle what my friends post, but it wasn't necessarily what I was looking for there.
Or interested in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So instead, I said, you know what? Instagram is where I am. This is where I'm going to follow all the things that interest me and nothing else. Right. So I've got drummers, my favorite drummers, and drummers I've never seen, never heard of before. Drumming is a big theme of there for me. I follow hand lettering, script and calligraphy, and I love watching people write. And I've actually been picking up some of that by watching. And actually, the Creators Pursuit logo, I drew that.
That's awesome.
Which I mean, I still it's okay, but I mean, it's I wouldn't have been able to do that without Instagram, watching these people do the hand lettering.
Right.
So I've got that stuff. So yeah, just framing it in that way. Outdoors, New Mexico. I love following New Mexico channels because they're just. I actually started using the bookmark thing.
Yeah.
And so one of my channels is called Homeland.
Yeah.
And it's just all these beautiful New Mexico scenes of places in New Mexico that I've never even seen before.
Right.
And it's like a bucket list,
Yeah.
These are places I have to go to, right? So I imagine, you.
Oh yeah, I mean we definitely have a lot of desire to just kind of sprawl the stage.
Yeah.
And create content all over the place.
Yeah.
Just to share with others. So, because having a sense of home gives you a sense of purpose and community. So.
Yeah. So So Oregon Mountain, at Oregon Mountain on the social medias, at Chris Lang Create. Watch out for the upcoming podcast, which is in progress. Yeah. I really like the concept of that. Is it going to be strictly audio, or are you doing a YouTube?
No, we do audio. Yeah, just audio.
Oh, just audio.
Yeah. All right. We want to just kind of keep it audio based. We've live streamed podcasts. We've done different avenues of it, and I don't know. We might do a Facebook Live kind of thing at some point, But I think initially I just want to kind of do audio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
I have some production elements that we want to try to incorporate. Yeah. And I think we're still working out a few things as far as just timing. I mean, I could tell you with LNG, we stay really busy. And Oregon Mountain keeps us busy, so it's finding that time to make it happen. But but we're excited about it. So.
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to be a part of it in whatever form that takes. And I just can't say enough good things about you and what you guys are doing. Really honored to be able to hang out with you and to call you a friend, and that I can always hit you up and say, hey, Chris, you get some coffee? Let's go hang out.
That'd be awesome.
So let's thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't thank you enough.
I appreciate it.
Folks, you heard it here. This is where creativity is happening, and this is not something that Chris owns all the creativity in Las Cruces. There's plenty of opportunities for you. Make it as small or as large of a project is right for you, but don't let anything stop you from really getting that creativity out of you, because it's there. It's in all of us. You don't have to be a painter. You don't have to be a musician. There's creativity inside of you, and don't let anything stop you from doing that. Chris, come by and see him when his shop opens. Make sure you come to the farmers market if you're here in Cruces. If you're outside of Cruces, hit up the social medias. I can't thank these guys enough, and really, really excited and looking forward to being able to send this your way. Thank you. See you on the pursuit.